Hello everyone, welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. We're doing a special second part of the Stop Announcing Things show. I am Captain Logan, and joining me this evening is my son, Jason. Hi, Jason.
Hey.
Thanks for joining me, man. Jason's going to help moderate the chat tonight. DJ is still out of town, and this was an impromptu, suddenly out of nowhere Friday show. We never do these shows on Friday, but there was just way too much news. Guys, it was pouring in last night during the Captain Logan show. We couldn't talk about half the things that were announced yesterday with the big Disney investor meeting because we were finding out about it as we were doing a show. So we talked a bunch about the Star Wars movies and shows that were announced yesterday. Me and Nick filled in for DJ, or at least he played co-host, and he was awesome. He did a great job. So thanks a bunch once again to Nick. Today, we're going to talk more Marvel stuff. We already knew a little bit yesterday. I didn't really end up getting into much of that. But today we know a whole lot more. The trailers were coming in during the show last night, and people wanted me to talk about them as we were broadcasting. I was kind of worried about copyright flags and stuff. And also, they were, even if we did them without showing the footage, they were all, 50 seconds to a minute long, Jason, and there were like 7 or 8 of them, and we'd have to, maybe there weren't that many, but we'd have to keep syncing up with everybody, so I decided not to do that. So we're just doing a whole separate show tonight. We're going to be talking about all the newly announced things. We're going to be talking about all the trailers for things that we knew about already, and lots more. Thanks a lot for joining me, folks. Already quite a few people here. I see Mutale there in the comments. There's Connor Nielsen. Hi, Connor. See Mystical Green Beanie, HB Haga, Daniel Davis, Jonathan Tong. There's a name I don't recognize. Welcome, folks. Thanks a bunch for being here. We're going to take your questions a little bit later in the show, as we always do. I'm already seeing a couple of super chats. We will get to those in the not too distant future. So our lead-in topic tonight, of course, is all of the announcements. And unlike what I usually do with lead-in topics on this show, it's going to be longer than 10 or 15 minutes because we've got to go down that whole list. So don't feel the need to ask questions trying to get us to talk about any of these individual things. Unless there's something I end up forgetting, we're just going to go down the list. So I'm going to put an article up on the screen and show you what we've got to cover. It's just crazy how much stuff Disney announced. This is unprecedented. I don't think we've ever seen this before. And I think some of it is we've had a whole year with a dearth of movies that you could see in the big screen, a dearth of MCU. It will have been a whole year since the next MCU, almost, since the next MCU thing drops at all. Do you realize that, Jason? Mm-mm. And so I think Disney is kind of trying to make up for that and for all, the big question mark about movie theaters and things by saying, don't worry, we've got things in the works. It's trying to get people excited again. And I talked about this with my wife earlier, and she made the point, which I'd not really thought that much about, that Disney probably felt the need to drop all this news at once because they might be concerned about leaks. So Nick and I were talking last night about how we wished with the Star Wars stuff that it had been more spread out and that we could talk about these things, more individually and get some time to let them process and digest and, continually be excited. And Sarah said, well, that would be better for that company too, right? Keep it relevant, keep constantly dropping things. And I realized that they tend to drop their whole slate of stuff when it comes to Marvel, but I feel like after that first wave, there's no reason to keep doing that every time. It's we have to have the whole 10 years out. A lot of that I think was getting people ramped up about the shared universe thing and letting us know that they were serious about that. And now I think you could stagger them more, except Sarah's right. They've got to be worried about leaks, so they might as well get ahead of it first and tell us about everything. But man, it's overwhelming. There were several people on the show last night that were like, this is making my head hurt. There's just so much information, so many things coming. It's hard to get real excited about any individual one. Now, having said that, I am more stoked about some of the news that we're getting here. And I don't want to say then Star Wars, because some of those announcements actually were pretty cool and I was kind of excited about. But with Marvel, I had this conversation with Austin with the Day Ghost earlier, and he said before this, there weren't a lot of movies I was excited about, but now that we're getting more trailers and more announcements for Disney Plus shows, I'm starting to turn around a little bit on the future of the MCU, and I agree with him. We have some cool trailers to talk about tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun, and some of the new announcements are cool, and some of them I'm not real excited about, or maybe even a little bit lame, some of them. But we'll talk about everything. We got a lot going on. So Jedi Knight, Black Widow is next, right? Yes. Well, actually, we don't know for sure. As far as if things release theatrically, that would be the next one. But Disney has not said for sure if that's going to be releasing simultaneous with on Disney Plus with a theatrical release yet. They're talking like they really don't want to have to do that. And especially, of course, they don't want to do that after what happened with Mulan. But they might be backed into a corner and kind of forced to. It's hard to say, like I keep saying, how many theaters are even going to be open, how viable that's going to be for them. They're one of the big holdouts right now. HBO Max has, of course, Warner Brothers, they've caved. They're using their whole slate of 21 movies next year as loss leaders, and they've decided that they're not going to bother with movie theaters at all, which has the whole industry in nothing less than a tizzy. And with Disney, they're still hoping that they can rely on movie theaters and not treating their stuff as much like loss leaders. So it's hard to say. If they wait on Black Widow to put it in a movie theater, that's not going to be January, I wouldn't think. So the next thing would be WandaVision. That's supposed to be middle of January, and the next Disney Plus thing after that is Falcon Winter Soldier, which is coming out in March. So let's go ahead and talk about all this stuff, shall we? Jason, before we get into all this stuff, let me just ask you what thing, we will go down the list, but before we go down the list, and most of you guys watching this probably are aware of all the announcements already, and just want to chat about it with us, and thanks so much for being here. Jason, what thing are you most excited about? Between movies, Disney Plus shows, whatever.
I think I'm most excited about What If.
What If looks really cool.
Yeah, and I didn't realize it was going to be animated.
How else would you do it, though?
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to bring back all those actors.
Yeah.
And that would be an extremely expensive show, and you wouldn't have been able to do it as a show, probably.
And that wouldn't have been easy to make it look like if it was, 10 years ago.
Yeah. What do you think? Yeah, that's a good point, too. Yeah, of course, because this way, no matter what your ages are of actors, they can still come back and voice them if you can get those actors back. Some of them, they're bringing people back, and, like Yondu. And some people, they're doing, sound-alikes. So, they're not going to have Robert Downey in that show, but they will have Iron Man in that show. They won't have Chris Evans, I don't think, but they will have Captain America, et cetera, et cetera.
And they can't have T'Challa.
Right, Chadwick Boseman, and he is in that show, and it will be interesting to see if that is the last time we see Black Panther in this universe. And of course, now it's a multiverse, because that's What If. But yeah, I guess we can start there. Let's just talk about that, and then we'll take a look at the list. But yeah, they are doing an episode, so that's going to be an episodic thing, of course. It's traditional What If, like with the comics. We go back to a story that you've seen, and we change it up and see how it might have happened a different way, and with sometimes even different characters. A lot of this looks like it's casting a different character in a different mantle. So you're going to have Agent Carter as Captain America, or is she Captain Britain? It looked like she had a shield that was like the British shield. I wasn't expecting that. And then you're going to have T'Challa as Star-Lord. Which is
the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
I wasn't expecting that. That's pretty cool, actually.
Either. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of... That might be the one I'm most excited about now, honestly, just because that sounds neat. And then the other one that we knew about already that I saw in that trailer was Marvel Zombies. One of the first
I did not know about that.
Images we got from that show was that Captain America as a zombie with the shield. And I don't remember from that trailer if there were any others. I'm sure folks can tell us.
Wasn't Doctor Strange one?
Doctor Strange was in there? I don't know what he was, though.
I think he was a zombie.
Stussy says, I wonder if there will be a Spider-Man episode. Good question. Yeah, I wonder that too. Rokeith, she is Captain Britain in What If. Yeah, that's what it looked like. That's cool. And that makes me wonder if we'll ever get a Captain Britain thing, because there's been talk about doing that character at some point. And obviously not Carter, but like the traditional Captain Britain. Well, let's go ahead and take a look. But you think that animation style looks cool?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at everything here. Oh, one second. Let me see if I can get a camera on us. I had to change this earlier for something. And there we are. Hi, everybody. We're huge. Let's make us a little smaller. Okay, Loki, WandaVision, Shang-Chi, Fantastic Four, all the Marvel news at the Disney Plus event. So the first thing this list is Loki, and it looks like what I was kind of expecting. We've been waiting for some images in a trailer or something for this for a long time. For a lot of people, this is the thing that they're most excited about. I like Loki fine. I couldn't get super jazzed about a Loki standalone thing. I'm more excited about it after seeing this. It looks wonderfully quirky and really out of the box, and a lot of these things look really out of the box. Obviously, there are a lot of fans that have soured a little bit on the MCU because they feel like every movie is the same, and all these creative teams look like, from what we've seen so far anyway, that they're kind of being allowed to go their own way, and that we might actually get some different tones and things of these shows, and some variety, and some real, creative, for lack of a better way of putting it, subverting of expectations, which is like, a term people don't like anymore, but it does mean something. If you do your own thing and you don't just make the traditional 3-act superhero structure, you mix it up a little bit, that's going to be different than what people were expecting. So anyway, it looks like the Agent Loki thing, and from the comics from a few years ago, and that's really cool. It looks like it's going to be a spy show with Loki. When he starts talking in that trailer, and I've only watched each of these trailers once, by the way, so there's liable to be little details that I missed, and a lot of people will do these separate videos, and they'll do breakdowns of every little morsel that you saw in the trailer. I'm not going to do that. I watched these one time. I'm going to talk very generalized about this, but you have that line toward the end where he's like, oh, look out, brother, and Heimdall, I'm coming, and he gets in the Rainbow Bridge, and he flies away, and it makes me wonder what characters we could end up seeing from Asgard in this. Is it crazy to consider that you could end up with a Chris Hemsworth guest star spot or cameo in this? I don't know. I think that actually could end up happening. They're not going to want to rely on him too much if he shows up, but I think it's very possible that you could have that. But then the other thing is, and I'm sure somebody's going to be like, well, no, we already know this, Cap, you're just not paying attention, but what is exactly the universe and timeline with this? Because it's like he gets... the trailer opens with that scene in Endgame where the 2012 Loki, and of course this would be now a branched off dimension, Loki from Avengers has been pulled out of his timeline, and when that happened, I kind of laughed when I saw that in the trailer, because in the theater I went, okay, so that's their loophole. That's how they're going to bring Loki back. They're not going to resurrect him. That's going to be the Loki that we get for his TV show. We already had his TV show announced at that point. And then this trailer opens with that. And I was like, see, I knew it. Of course that's what they're doing. But, is this I guess I'm going to assume that he's in a universe different from ours where the Thanos thing hasn't happened yet? Is that what we have to assume? And Thor is in, Asgard hasn't been destroyed, and Thor and Heimdall are still around, and
yeah,
I guess I'm assuming that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. It looks like quirky but potentially disturbing in places fun. What did you think of that, Jason? Are you excited about that one?
Yeah. I'll watch it.
Do you have thoughts? How are you with Loki in the MCU in general? Is that a character that you latch onto and you're excited about, or is he just kind of another villain, or?
Yeah, he's kind of just Loki. I don't relate. He's not my favorite character or anything. I like him, and a lot of people really like him, and it's good that he's getting his own show. But yeah, I don't even know what's going on in that trailer.
I like that it looks like he's going to be very much a kind of new iteration of this character, where, he's the guy that you knew from the first Thor movie and Avengers, but after that, all bets are off. If this guy and the Loki that went through Dark World and Ragnarok and everything met each other, it would be like second chances in Star Trek The Next Generation with Riker and Thomas Riker, right? They'd be two different characters. events that will happen here, the things that he goes through will change him in hopefully really interesting ways. So he's clearly the same duplicitous guy he always was, but Loki is more complicated than just, the bad guy. And if you were going to give any of the villains from those movies their own show, that's the one to do. So yeah, suddenly I'm very excited about that. It's not the one I'm most excited for, and we'll keep going. So we're gonna get more Disney Plus shows. It's just like Star Wars, where they're just announcing and announcing and announcing. Stop announcing things. One of the most interesting things that we've learned about is Secret Invasion, which a lot of people expected after Endgame would be the next big event that everything was leading to. A lot of folks thought that we were going to see like several more phases, or at least a couple of phases, before we got to Secret Invasion. That would be the next big Avengers thing. And it's going to be a Disney Plus miniseries, and I think that's the way to handle it with that particular material, right? Because you're going to get several episodes where you can really build this. I don't know if you know anything about Secret Invasion, but it's the Skrulls. It was a mid-2000s thing, and basically the idea is a lot of our superheroes have been infiltrated by Skrulls, and they've been pretending to be our superheroes. And we find out that in Secret Invasion, and suddenly they reveal themselves, we were Skrulls the whole time. I've never actually read it, I just know about that. And we're finally going to be doing that. And so a lot of people have been wondering if some of the heroes, through even some of the previous phases, have actually been Skrulls the whole time. There were a lot of rumors and talk about that after Captain Marvel introduced the Skrulls. And as soon as we got that, everybody was like, sure, we're going to get Secret Invasion in some form. And this is the form we're going to get. I really like the idea of doing that in several episodes instead of trying to, build the subterfuge over half an hour, and then you start to reveal people, in a movie. Makes a lot more sense to do it this way. The big question for me is who all will be involved in that, because that sounds like a big, giant event that you would want to be on, something of an Infinity War kind of scale, or at least that's what I figured we'd do. How many of our superheroes are going to bring into that, and how much of a blend then because you can see with all these announcements a real blur of the lines between movies and TV shows. And, scale and epicness, and a lot of this stuff does not look to me, especially when you get the Falcon and Winter Soldier, like really small potato, small scale stuff. I've been feeling this way with The Mandalorian too, where so much of that looks really big screen worthy, and we've told, some smaller stories, of course, but it is, and I haven't seen the next episode, the latest episode. I'm doing that right after this, so nobody spoil that for me, but it's starting to ramp up. It's getting very much on the scale of a big movie, and it already looked that way to me. You could be putting that on the big screen. We have really blurred the lines. Are we going to get to a point with Marvel where it's just not even going to matter if it's on the big screen or if it's on television, and it's going to get similar production values regardless of budget? I don't know. I'm really interested in it because Falcon Winter Soldier looks like Winter Soldier to me, production value wise. You saw some of that action with Falcon, flying around through the mountains.
Yeah.
How's this not in a movie theater? The only confirmed hero we have in that is Nick Fury, in Secret Invasion, and I don't know who else it's going to be. All of a sudden, Nick Fury is sounding really important again, and like he's going to be in a lot of stuff. I think, wasn't there also, I'm not seeing it here, but wasn't there also a Nick Fury show announced recently?
So, Blue Television, or not, Blue Dragon 5 just...
Blue Television? Blue Television 5.
No, there's a channel that I watch called Blue Television Games, so I got
Oh, I see. Okay,
but,
anyway.
Blue Dragon 5 was talking about this, so he said that the thing they were talking about with the Nick Fury show might be Secret Invasion now. It's what they were talking about.
Oh, so that might be the show we were talking about all along?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Give us just 1 second, guys. Okay, so we got Secret Invasion. We got that out of the way. We don't know anything except Nick Fury and Skrulls. And they're bringing back Talos, of course. That goes without saying, but Ben Mendelsohn is coming back for that. Before we get to these other big announcements, let me go back for a minute and mention that, of course, we already knew about She-Hulk. We already knew about Moon Knight. We already knew about Miss Marvel, and we got a teaser for that, which was basically just the producers sitting around saying, "Isn't it great that we're finally doing Miss Marvel?" And the actress going, "I can't believe I get to be in the show," and showing pictures of that character from comics, and there might have been some like pre-production art or something, but it's not a true teaser. They haven't really, it doesn't look like they've really shot much yet. So that's all we got for that. I'm gonna have kind of a wait and see attitude on that. Miss Marvel's not a character that I've experienced in very much of anything yet. I still haven't read her run. I know a lot of people really like it. I know it's kind of beloved. But
She-Hulk?
No, Miss Marvel.
Oh.
Miss Marvel, yeah.
But you said She-Hulk.
I said She-Hulk earlier, but I was talking about Miss Marvel just now.
Right. But I didn't know She-Hulk was gonna.
Yes, She-Hulk is getting a show.
Oh.
Is that exciting?
Yeah, and Moon Knight.
And Moon, yeah. Okay, so we got that stuff. Probably the biggest announcement, or the announcement that I'm least excited about, that I was really hoping wouldn't happen, and hopefully they turn me around on this, is Ironheart. Riri Williams. This is a character that I've never cared anything about. That feels a lot like, forgive me, but kind of forced diversity to me. I hope it's not. I mean, I hope they really have a plan for that, and that they've got cool ideas. But that was a character that replaced Tony Stark in the comics for a while. Jason, in a book that was initially called Iron Man, and she's not a man, but the book was still called Iron Man. It wasn't even like in the middle of a thing. It was just they started a book called Iron Man, and she was Iron Man. It was very strange. And then and then she became Ironheart in a book that, as far as I'm aware, very few people read, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I hope I'm turning around on that. I was really kind of hoping they wouldn't go there, but of course that is happening. Armor Wars is potentially exciting. I always thought Don Cheadle should get his own thing, and he is indeed going to get to be War Machine. Feige says facing consequences of Tony Stark's worst nightmare. So we'll see what happens with that, but that's cool. And then we knew about this last night, but I didn't get around to mentioning it. The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. What is it with Disney and holiday specials right now? They keep announcing these things or bringing these things up. Like there's a Star Wars one that's going to happen, and I think Favreau's directing that, but I don't know if I'm right about that. And then there's a Lego one that either just came out or is going to, a Star Wars holiday special. And now we're doing it with Marvel, because Marvel and Disney are both under the same roof, and so we got to take, Marvel and Star Wars are both under the Disney roof, so we got to do that holiday special thing. It's hilarious. We take one of the most...
in a year.
Next year.
Yeah.
We take one of the most infamous things ever that everybody hates, the Star Wars holiday special, and we try to turn it into something cool. I don't know. We'll see what that's like. But James Gunn is actually making that, and I guess that's supposed to... well, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming that that's going to give us some clues as to what the next Guardians movie looks like and maybe lead into it in some way. Or maybe it'll just be a total random, offshoot, crazy blow-off thing. We'll see what that's like, but I'm kind of excited about that. I don't know if it's mentioned anywhere in this article, but there was some talk again about Hawkeye. Not really any news, just kind of saying that's still happening. I thought that show had been put on indefinite hold, but it sounds like that really is going to happen, and we are going to be setting up the female Hawkeye.
Yeah, they did talk about that, but there wasn't like a trailer.
Did they mention if the original character is still coming back? Because originally the idea was he was supposed to train her, and I don't know if that's still happening, because there was some controversy with that actor.
I don't remember.
But yeah, and then... Let's see. God Merc, why is Ironheart forced diversity, but War Machine is cool? Ironheart might not be as far as this ends up going. We'll just have to see what the actual thing looks like. I honestly thought that she was in the comics. There just didn't seem to be a lot to that character. And it seemed like she was kind of just put in there so that we could have some more diverse characters. Obviously, I don't like I want more diverse characters, but I want them to I want there to be something to them, and they're not just there so that we can pat ourselves on the back for being progressive. I know not everybody agrees with me on this, but it's just how I feel about it. And I worry a little bit that whenever a character that came into existence in that way gets announced where we're adapting them, that that's going to be the main reason we're doing that, and then there's not really going to be too much to that character. And so I really hope that that's not what ends up happening with that. Of course, I have an open mind. I'm just not immediately excited about it. I don't care about that character. Rohit Dahar says Jeremy Renner is still coming back, so that's good. Senior Nerd, I was also disappointed Oscar Isaac was officially announced as Moon Knight, but it could be he's not Moon Knight because he's doing the Metal Gear movie. Maybe you're saying that he wasn't officially announced. Yeah, I was surprised by that as well. I thought that was just a given at this point, but you're right. They didn't bring that up yesterday. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, guys, that's the difference. That's how I feel about it. Connor, Tony was in a coma or some stupid thing. Yes, indeed, that is what happened. And there was like a AI version of him running around for a while. Yeah, that kind of thing is always silly because it's like, yeah, where he was just like a hologram and he was just coming to people. It's a hologram. So anyway, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, and then there's an animated series of shorts called I Am Groot. We're getting onto the short kick with Disney Plus right now. There were a couple things like that announced for Star Wars as well. There was a vignette thing from Japanese animators for Star Wars that I'm hoping is really cool, because it could be cool to see some Star Wars animes. Then we got a new trailer for WandaVision, and that show still continues to look amazing and super inventive, and I can't wait for that.
I didn't even know like what WandaVision was.
Ooh.
And
did it surprise the crap out of you?
Yeah.
What'd you think of that?
That's so weird. We're like,
it's weird.
How does that even happen? We're like, they're like in like the 40 show for like Twilight Zone or something?
No, they're doing parodies of 50s and 60s sitcoms. And it starts as a kind of a, like, I Love Lucy kind of thing, black and white, and then it turns into more of a Bewitched kind of thing. And so they're doing, like, it looks like they're doing sort of like the history of comedic television, at least the early days. I don't know how far that's going to go. A couple things I just love about that. I love that we're doing a satire of television in the first TV show that they're doing. And I realize that it's streaming, so it's not traditional television, but it's really fun that the first thing we're getting is going to be the thing where they're really commenting on television. And I think probably, we haven't seen the show yet, so I don't want to start trying to analyze this, but at least from the trailers, it looks like there's probably going to be some social commentary about what television has done to us, what television does do to us, the perception of reality that you have based on what Hollywood tells you is normal for families to do has to be a huge part of that, I would assume, because the whole idea, Jason, is reality reinventing. So the idea, as far as we can tell, is that it's kind of their version of House of M without the X-Men. So Wanda has rebuilt reality or made her own reality of sorts. It's hard to say what exactly it is yet, where Vision is alive. Because Vision, of course, spoiler alert, died in Endgame, and she can't stand a world without the Vision, so she creates her own. Where he's still there, and it's supposed to be like they're living this perfect mundane cul-de-sac kind of life, and the sort of Leave It to Beaver thing, and then it looks like it's going to get really disturbing and potentially twisted. I cannot wait for that. That looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And just because of who my favorite characters are, I think I'm technically more looking forward to Falcon and Winter Soldier, but they're neck and neck right now. It is basically a tie. Senior Nerd says WandaVision will go through 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000 sitcoms. So it is going to be the history of sitcoms. That's such a cool idea. And what a neat, inventive way to, kind of save money on a TV show. And like I said, a lot of this stuff looks like they're doing a big budget movie in several episodes, but this looks like an intentionally more streamlined, kind of trimmed down TV thing. And I'm stoked. It's good. So we have to assume there's some friends in that show. And probably when we get to that 2000s, probably sort of like a How I Met Your Mother thing. And a lot of sitcoms I'm hoping that they kind of make fun of here and there. There's a laugh track. I'm excited. Connor says House of M meets Tom King's Vision. I figured some of that was in there, but I've still not read that. And I bought it. I just haven't gotten around to reading it. Somebody recently requested it, though. So in a few weeks at least, I'll be reviewing that finally. Oh, you guys have done nothing but talk for the last 2 days. It's starting to get to me. Okay, so we talked about that, and then we've got Falcon and Winter Soldier, which to me just looks like a slightly lighter and maybe more fun version of Winter Soldier. Like the tone of that looks pretty Winter Soldier-y to me. But, like I said, maybe a little bit more lighthearted because you have the banter of these two guys, kind of a buddy cop thing. It's exactly what I expected to see, and it's exactly what I wanted so far. I'm pretty excited about it. You know, it's all about the legacy of Captain America. It seems like the both of them are kind of filling that void with Steve Rogers gone. Of course, Steve gave Falcon the shield, and I assume that he's going to be primarily carrying that, but I hope by the end of that, it's basically both of these guys are continuing on the mantle, so that we can kind of get past the argument of which of them should have the Captain America mantle. Because it's hard to pick. I have to say Falcon just because he's my favorite between them, but everybody that says Bucky should be Captain America, I don't disagree with that. It's just that you got this other guy that I also think should be Captain America. I think it's cool to take both of them and let them kind of run with that mantle and make it their own thing, and neither of them has to be called Captain America. But what did you think of that trailer, Jason?
What happens in that trailer again?
Well, they're talking about the mantle of Captain America and how it's big shoes to fill, and we get some really cool action at the end of it with Falcon, flying around doing his Falcon thing, and we get talk about Winter Soldier as a cyborg, like your cyborg brain. And I wonder how literal we're going with that, because I thought he just had a cyborg arm, but the way Falcon was talking about it is almost like he's a full-fledged cyborg, like he has computer programming in his head. Is that what I'm supposed to take from that?
I don't know, like. But yeah, it's like. I like.
Sorry, I'm waiting on you.
I like the stuff with Falcon flying around, and I like I can't choose like between
which of those should be Captain America.
Yeah.
So this says, and I talked about this earlier, but I'll go ahead and read this. Black Widow on Disney Plus, no word on timing. With the careful language it used, Disney made it clear they still believe in the power of the theater. Black Widow is set to release on May the 7th, which is crazy because we'll have both of these shows before we see that, and it will have been well over a year since we were supposed to have seen Black Widow. Was that originally releasing May last year, or was it even earlier than that? Was it more like April? I forget now. In light of the brewing Warner Media HBO Max backlash, and since this film is expected to launch a new generation of Marvel stars, that's probably for the best. Yeah, maybe. But we'll see if they end up caving, because I don't know. I also wanted to say earlier, we'll see how much of some of these announcements end up sticking, because some of this stuff is announced so far in advance that I could see a few things getting, at least one or two things getting axed or changed and moved around, because that does tend to happen, right? We never got that in Humans movie. We've already had some things get pushed back. Maybe it was up a little bit higher, but I have to talk about Ant-Man 3. So Ant-Man, so the new Ant-Man movie, where is that in here?
It's down.
Oh, was it down farther?
Yeah, it's down farther, I'm pretty sure.
Shang-Chi, we talked about What If. Okay, so let's talk about Ant-Man 3, and then we can go. I don't really have anything to say about Fantastic Four, except we know it's got a logo, as you see, and it is. I use that for the thumbnail, and it is definitely happening and going to be in the not too distant future in their slate. And yesterday we talked about John Watts. That is confirmed that he's going to be directing that. I like that choice. That's the guy who's done the last two Spider-Man movies. I think he'll be great for that. Okay, so Ant-Man 3 is going to be called Quantumania? Okay, so eventually we'll have to do a Marvel Mania on a movie called Quantumania. So that's weird. And this article doesn't mention this, but I read earlier, and somebody tell me if this is wrong and not confirmed, but I read on a different site earlier, on a different news site, that we're supposed to get Kang in that movie, that's where they're using that villain. And I know a lot of guys, including Dan Torrey, that I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I assume he'll be disappointed by that. I know a lot of guys that are going to be really disappointed by this news, because Kang is a huge major Avengers villain, and if he's in this movie, there's a good chance chance he's kind of wasted. I hope that's not true. I hope that movie ends up being really epic and exciting and engaging. And guys, we'll get to super chats in a little bit. I'm sorry. I know some of you guys have been waiting for your super chats to get answered for like half an hour, but I knew we would have to spend some time on this lead-in news, on this lead-in topic. Now, just because Kang's getting dropped there doesn't necessarily mean that that's not build up for him to be somewhere else. Obviously, Loki has been a big villain that's continued in several movies. So I wouldn't like jump the gun and go, oh crap, like this sucks. We're never going to get, Kang in a big epic, time travel Avengers thing. Or it doesn't even necessarily have to be time travel, but that is a thing we do with Kang a lot. That's not a character I know a ton about. I just know a lot of guys that are really into that character, Eric and Dan specifically, and I will be surprised if they are happy with this news. That title, Quantumania, I assume is also going to have a lot of MCU naysayers go see everything has to be a comedy. Of course, the Ant-Man movies have been, but if you throw Kang in there, a lot of people aren't really going to want that, so like, can he, getting thrown into the mix, make that movie a little more serious, even while Ant-Man himself is being really jokey? I don't know, maybe. But that title immediately kind of turns me off. On the other hand, I would love the next Ant-Man movie to not be as superfluous as the last one, because it was boring and I just didn't care. We're going to be talking about that on Tuesday, so I'm assuming this Quantumania thing will come up again when we talk about that movie when we do the commentary for Ant-Man and the Wasp on Tuesday. Busted Sim says there's a Klingon in the MCU. Yeah, there's a Klingon in TOS called Kang, and we made that joke earlier too. It's Michael Reed. Kang is the future ancestor of Reed Richards. That's a good point. That might be a way to get to set up Reed Richards and Fantastic Four in the first place. Connor says I'm pretty confident Kang will be recurring. I'd be surprised if he wasn't. Okay, what else do we need to mention? We talked about What If already.
And we talked about Hawkeye.
Mm-hmm. And of course we know about the other big movies that were... Well, Michelle Pfeiffer is mentioned again. Hopefully she actually gets something to do in this next movie. I didn't like that they just found her at the end and then the end. We've got... we talked about Christian Bale getting the role of Gore the God Butcher in Thor Love and Thunder last night. That's the first thing about that movie that has me remotely excited, and that's really good casting.
Who's Christian Bale?
Batman Begins. Dark Knight. Brie Larson will return in Captain America 2, which we assumed but had not. I don't know if that had been officially. Yeah, that was in the slate from before, wasn't it? And then, like I said, Fantastic Four with John Watts. So that is everything. Stussy, no Deadpool or Daredevil announcements. Yeah, that's kind of surprising, which makes you wonder. And no official stuff. Yeah, at least in this list of things from yesterday, talking about Spider-Man 3, even though we had been hearing a lot of announcements about casting in the days before. So I don't know if that wasn't mentioned just because they had already announced it, or how much of that ends up being rumor territory. I'm a little bit confused about some of that. Something else I meant to mention about the Falcon Winter Soldier trailer is I was excited to hear the theme from First Avenger back. I'm pretty sure that's what that was at the end of that trailer. That's pretty cool. Clearly, the folks making that are excited about that property and want to continue the legacy of that even without Chris Evans. So that's exciting. Okay, we're going to start answering questions now. We will, let's see. We've been going for almost 40 minutes already, so we'll go until Super Chats are out. Jason, I'll have you occasionally throw me a pre-written as well, especially anything that's following up on anything I just talked about with all the Marvel news. And if I missed anything major, somebody let me know. I think I got all the big stuff.
Should we start with a Super Chat or a pre-written question?
Why don't you start us with a pre-written, and then we'll go to Super Chats. Yes, indeed.
Everyone's saying that they think Falcon's just joking.
Oh, about the cyborg brand? Yeah, probably so. Probably. But the first thing I thought of was, wait, is he actually a cyborg? Senior Nerd, you forgot the most important news. Oh, yes, I did. Thank you for bringing this up. Cap, they will not recast T'Challa in honoring Chadwick Boseman. That's kind of what I figured would happen. He wrote Chadwick Boseman, but it's Chadwick Boseman. That is kind of where I thought they would lean. They didn't come right out and say that Shuri will become Black Panther. They talked about it more like, and they're ambiguous, so that might still happen. They talked about it more like they want it to be about the cast of Wakanda that they have been building since Black Panther. And so it might be more like a World of Wakanda movie. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't called that, actually, to be honest with you. There's a comic series recently called World of Wakanda, and it could go either way. I do think it would be kind of strange, though, with that culture, unless they decide to just completely go a totally different way and basically ignore tradition completely because he dies. And I wouldn't think they would do that. To not have a Black Panther that is supposed to protect Wakanda. Anytime in the comics that you lose Black Panther, that you lose T'Challa or T'Chaka or whoever, you have to have somebody else sitting on the throne. And so we'll see how that goes. I'll be really surprised if they do a Black Panther movie without a Black Panther of some kind. I would be really shocked if they write him out for a movie and say he's still alive, but he's just not around, so that they can do stuff with those characters but not have Black Panther. I would think that part of their honoring Chadwick Boseman would be killing off that character for good, but I don't know. But that's what I would assume that they're doing. Okay. Man, just so much talking. Just so much talking mostly by myself, Jason.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for helping me out, by the way, Ken. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So Mutali.
Are you having a good time?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Jump in at any time, by the way. I know I really dominated that news section, but I just had to go through all that stuff, you know?
Yeah, and I have, nothing to say about that.
Well, but you're excited about some things.
Yeah,
right?
I am. Yep.
Cool.
I don't know, I hope Deadpool 3 is good. I hope. If they do announce it.
I am surprised there was nothing mentioned about Deadpool, but I also could see him without any fanfare showing up at the end of the next Doctor Strange movie, which is in the what is that? Multiverse of Madness. I'm glad I had that up right there. Or in Spider-Man 3 if that ends up being a kind of live-action Spider-Verse with all the different dimensions.
So Mutale asks...
is this another pre-written?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then I'll go ahead and start getting some of these super chats knocked down.
Cap, what would Logan Vision be like?
Logan Vision?
Yeah.
Like Captain Logan Vision?
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be like the history of cheap science fiction series on television. I think that's what that would be.
I guess. I guess that's what he's saying.
Is that what he's saying? If it's Logan like Wolverine or like the movie Logan, it would be violent westerns. It'd be a whole show about violent westerns through the ages. Chewbacca's Lover, $5 super chat. All the MCU films feel the same. I kind of addressed this earlier. The comics aren't like that. They have the same tone and flavor. The comics are more varied in tone, not just plots. I'm hoping that we're getting more away from that with some of these new shows, though. And I wouldn't have agreed with you as much a few years ago. I thought, especially with things like Winter Soldier, we had some movies that were very much going their own way. And when I thought more of the TV stuff was actually canonical, we were already getting that on television. Where you had a really stylized Daredevil show. You had an Agent Carter that felt like something of a different thing than you had in the rest of the MCU. But then that stuff kind of stopped counting, and that made it feel a little bit stale for those of us that were like, some of these movies are starting to look kind of cookie cutter. And so I get why you're saying that, and there is some truth to that, but I think that we might be finally starting to get away from that a little bit. I'm also just fascinated to see how much people end up caring to go to the movie theater to see any of this stuff after they get epic miniseries on television at home. How much is that? And I don't know how much it would have affected them even before the crisis, but especially with the crisis, if they continue to try to put those movies out on the big screen, how many people are going to, because I can see this both ways, how many people will feel the need to rush out to go see them because they want to see them right away and they just don't care how they have to see them, and how many people will go, well, I wish this was just on Disney Plus. And if it's offered in both places, I really think a lot of people aren't going to feel the need to go to the theater. Alternatively, I can see a lot of people go, well, this Captain America Winter Soldier show feels or Captain America, Falcon Winter Soldier show feels as cinematic. I don't know if it will, but let's say it did to people. It feels as cinematic as some of these movies, you know, like Black Widow, that I have to go to the theater to see. How come those things aren't also in the theater? I'd like to see them large too. So see that going lots of different ways.
Yeah. Writer. Yeah. I have seen Deadpool 1 and 2.
I wasn't gonna reveal that. Now I look like a bad father.
Yeah. But writer asked.
My wife and I finally decided to let Jason watch those movies with us. He was supervised. We talked to him about anything that he had questions about. Definitely not the most appropriate thing for a 10-year-old, goes without saying. There were various reasons that we decided to go ahead and let him do that. And I don't know. I won't get into that. But I don't want to sit here and defend my choices as a father, but that's one of those kind of special, you know, more rough and tumble things that we don't do that with everything, of course. I'm not going to let him watch Watchmen, and I'm not going to let him regularly watch Deadpool, like, all the time, but we went ahead and let him see those. Jason loves Juggernaut. Part of the reason I did that was so that he could get to see Juggernaut in that second movie, and then he was disappointed by that, so...
Yeah. I actually am like Dad. I like the first movie better than the second movie. But...
Yes, indeed. You doing all right? You need something to drink?
Sure. I'm gonna go get...
Okay. He'll be right back. You just sound a little dry. He'll be right back, and I'm going to continue answering Super Chats.
I'm also gonna get a snack, because it's almost...
Cool. You look like you're fading a little bit already, so... Alright, we'll see Jason here in just a minute.
You can do the next Super Chat.
Stephen Murphy wants us to talk about Deadpool on Father and Son. I was going to... I avoid doing that because I felt funky about that. I wasn't going to make that public, but I guess that's Jason's prerogative. He can talk about that if he wants to. Yeah, some people in the comments think I'm crazy for doing that, and I guess I kind of am. But anyway, I don't have to defend myself. Let's continue. 5590 ERS. Thanks, man. $2 super chat. Would you like to see a Silver Surfer in the MCU? Yes, of course. I think that's likely to be inevitable. I mean, why in the world would you front load an FF movie and not do Silver Surfer pretty soon? I'm not expecting him to necessarily be in that movie, but I've always felt funky about intergalactic Marvel without Cosmic Marvel without Silver Surfer and Galactus. It just feels like something massive is missing. We really need him, and that also seems like a very MCU kind of movie. The tragedy and pathos of that character is going to fit very well with some of the other things that they've tried to do. I think he'll be an interesting character, talking about the heart and the selflessness or lack thereof that we're constantly dealing with characters like Iron Man and Captain America and Black Panther. Comparing him to those characters will be fascinating, especially if we do them right off the page. So yes, of course I want that, and I will be very surprised if in the next 5 to 6 years I don't see that. Anybody surprised or not surprised that we didn't get any kind of an X-Men announcement out of this? Given that series continued to be more or less popular at Fox. I realized the last two movies people didn't like. Logan was gangbusters. Deadpool is part of that whole thing. It was huge. And a lot of people have been not sure if Fantastic Four can even perform in the MCU. I think it will. I'm not really all that concerned about that. I could have even seen them confirming that as a Disney Plus series, and I think that actually might have been smart, but I don't know how epic they're wanting to go with that, and I don't know what their plan is, and I don't know what it would cost. But I have to say I'm a little surprised that we didn't go with something X-Men before Fantastic Four, just because of the reputation that property has on film after every one of those movies, especially Fan Four Stick, the most recent thing. So I wonder how long it's going to be before that happens. Stuff was right, says no talk of Blade. I'm a little bit surprised by that too. I'm assuming that that's still happening in some form, but we are hearing again about everything else that has already been announced and not that. So kind of weird. Okay, thanks for the question there. Connor Nielsen, $4.99 super chat. DJ is not here, Connor. He must have left. Yeah, he left this before we started broadcasting. Sorry about that, Connor. He wanted to know what DJ thought about Always Sunny getting renewed through season 18. I'll try to make sure that he talks about that again next Thursday when we have the next Captain Logan show.
I'm back.
Hello, sir. We just talked about Silver Surfer and whether or not he'd be in the MCU. Tom, TH1, $5 super chat. Thanks, man. Who would be on your comic book superhero themed Pokemon team?
Can you like?
You rock. What new show are you most looking forward to? We did talk about that already.
Mean?
Yeah, I'm not totally sure. Tom asks kind of oddball questions sometimes. On your comic book superhero themed Pokemon, does he mean like Pokemon trainers? Like pick a superhero that would be a Pokemon trainer? Maybe. Who do you think would be best for that? I'm thinking of guys that wouldn't be great for that. Wolverine, probably not the best Pokemon trainer type.
Probably like Captain America, maybe.
Miles Morales. I'm thinking of younger people. I'm thinking of like teenagers and young adults.
Okay.
Probably, Miss Marvel would probably be a good Pokemon
Kamala
trainer.
Khan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spider Girl.
Spider-Gwen.
Spider-Gwen.
No,
yeah.
I got it. Rocket Raccoon. Rocket Raccoon throws
Groot.
a ball and something like a raccoon comes out of it.
Groot.
What is the most raccoon-like Pokemon, Jason? Because there's got to be a Pokemon that's like a raccoon.
Yeah, there is, but I can't think of the name of it. I think there is, but.
Lewis Cox, £2 super chat. This is from just as we started broadcasting tonight. Cap stop announcing things part 2. Indeed. Joseph Plaza, £199 super chat. Don't forget the Buzz Lightyear spinoff. Yeah, I was just looking at the Marvel stuff today. They've announced some other things. They've announced Alien and some other stuff, and I've not looked deep into that because I just wanted to focus on Marvel. Because Disney bought out Fox, and they have the Alien franchise now, and a lot of people weren't sure that they would ever do anything with it, and they have already been announcing things because they keep announcing things. So we may talk about more of some of that stuff next week. I just didn't think we would have enough time in the show to cover it, so I didn't look real deeply into any of that stuff. I don't know what we have besides titles and some people that we know are working on things, but yeah, all I know about the Buzz Lightyear spinoff is that it's called Lightyear, and Chris Evans is supposed to be Lightyear. Is it you know what? I haven't even read about this. Is it an animation thing or is it live action? Because I think it's weird that you would... Unless it's like an earlier version of him, that you wouldn't just have Tim Allen continue to voice him. Let's go ahead and look this up as we're talking about it. I guess we live in the future where it's pretty easy to talk about a thing that you didn't know anything about until you look it up and start. I don't know. It's so easy to be lazy about these things. So yeah, there is Lightyear. Oh, sorry. There it is, Lightyear. I'm assuming this is just a logo. Yeah, there it is, Disney Pixar Lightyear. And once again, I said this last night, but I thought this was a joke. Like a couple weeks ago, DJ or somebody on the show was like, you know what they're going to do? They're going to do a Buzz Lightyear movie called Lightyear, and it's going to be like a prequel thing, like the origin of Buzz Lightyear. And we're getting what looks like that, but let's see what this says. Pete Docter revealed plans for the movie at the 2020 Disney Investor Day. And he's going to be voiced by Chris Evans, and it is going to be an animated thing. Okay, I'm not sure why it's not still Tim Allen. That's really weird. Because even if you said it was a younger version, would we not believe Tim Allen in that role? You got to get in the frame here, good.
Okay.
The film will take viewers to where the original Buzz Lightyear story first began. So this is going to be like... I mean, this is cool. I hope it's great. I liked the Buzz Lightyear of Star Command TV show. I'm cool with something more serious than that. I like the idea of seeing the movie that would be the thing that kids like Andy were huge fans of when they bought the action figures. So this isn't going to be a movie about the Buzz Lightyear that is a toy. This is going to be a sci-fi epic starring Buzz Lightyear, which is exactly what I would want from a thing like this. The film will pick up with Buzz starting out as a young test pilot, long before his days as a space ranger, and the inspiration for walking, talking action figures. That's great. Yeah, I know we joked about that, but if it's gonna actually be the big space epic thing, I can't say I don't want to see that. So. That could be really cool. Jedi Knight says maybe Tim Allen just got canceled or something. I don't know. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I don't want to speculate about that. Who knows? But, anyway. Yeah, I've been hearing about this, but I don't know what it is. Mutali says, what are your thoughts on the new Star section announced for Disney+? I guess we could just look that up, too. just keep, I don't know, there were so many announcements I could not keep up with everything. On Disney Plus. Okay, so looking at an article from the Disney Insider. Let's see, what is this whole thing? Star will be the mature section within the Disney Plus app that will only be available internationally. Only internationally? Oh, that's bizarre. So wait, what does that mean? That we're not going to have it in America? So they're going to make, like, R-rated stuff, but we don't get it? Is that what that means? If anybody knows more about this, let me know. That's really weird. Why would Disney have a thing that you only had overseas? Okay, I don't understand that. That's very strange. I'm glad they're going to do a thing like that, because that helps to kind of satiate people that assume that if it's Disney, it has to be very PG-13 and everything will be watered down. And if they're doing that, it makes me think that something like Netflix Daredevil is more possible than I thought it was before. I said don't come back and recast or cast Charlie Cox again because they won't make more of that show. Now, I'm still concerned it wouldn't be that show, but with as experimental as some of the Marvel Disney Plus things seem to be, maybe there's reason to have hope that if they are indeed bringing back Cox, that it would be something akin to that show. There is reason to think that. Mutali says apparently Hulu is their domestic version of that. So does that mean that everything that comes on Star will be on Hulu, but if you live here, you have to have a subscription to both? And if you're international, is Star a separate subscription you have to pay for, or do you just get it roped in, but you have to have like an adult sign-in in order to look at it? These are just questions. I don't know. Okay, so Blue Dragon 5 is claiming that the idea is it's a deep pull nod to the fact that the Buzz Lightyear toy didn't have Tim Allen's voice. So like we hear Tim Allen, but the actual voice box is not him. I thought it was, but okay. Lewis Cox, £2 super chat. Cap Star is going to be an international Hulu. Okay. That's really weird because it sounds like it's a tab on Disney Plus is the way this read. Yeah. Okay. Why are they doing that separately from Hulu? I'm not fully understanding that. Connor $1.99 super chat. I'll get back up to the super chats from before here in a minute. I don't know if Jason's coming back or not. He just kind of unceremoniously got up and left. Why the Last Man is coming to Hulu logo revealed. Okay. I guess we can go look at that real quick. I mean, I assume it's going to look a lot like the Why the Last Man logo, but that's exciting. And that'll have to be really rough and dark. And so, yeah, I'm starting to think there's less reason to be as concerned about rough and tumble stuff not being as sophisticated through Disney, things Disney owns. So that's good if I'm right about it. That is a really generic looking logo to me, but okay. Look, it's Why the Last Man. I hope that series is great. I really do. I need to finish reading that at some point. Connor and I got about halfway through it at one point when we were reviewing that show. Let me go back through some super chats, folks. Oh, welcome back, Jason.
I am here.
Jason, do me a favor. Bring back your comments and throw some pre-written stuff my way after I do a couple of super chats, would you?
Okay. My tablet's almost out of battery though.
Well, can you get the cord to plug it in, or?
Yeah.
No? Okay. Or you could just bring it up on my phone.
Yeah.
Here, why don't you just do it that way? Because my phone has plenty of battery.
Yeah.
There. Okay, guys. These super chats are coming in fast. Let me scroll back up. Okay, so we talked about the Buzz Lightyear thing. Lewis Cox, £5 super chat, brought that up also. There's a Lightyear movie which shocked me. I didn't know this was coming. It has me interested. I am too. Tom, $10 super chat. Thanks so much. I'm thinking one of the episodes might be similar. He's talking about, so we're going back to things we talked about a long time ago now, of course. That's just how the show always goes. He's talking about WandaVision Might be similar to 90s Sabrina because, you know, witches, they also might make a commentary on how movies have become like TV episodes and how TV has become more like movies. I could see, who knows about Sabrina? That's something of a relatively obscure thing. It's not a huge fan base. I would really doubt if they did anything with that, but they might. But I think you're right about the second thing, especially because we're on Disney Plus and it is a streaming show, and I think they'd have to comment on that stuff. I totally agree. John Ty, $5 super chat. Do you think the MCU X-Men will be more cosmic based than the more grounded reality of what the X-Men stand for? Very possibly. I guess I don't know. At the very least, I could see them going to space earlier and having the space thing mixed up more. But we're doing that with everything now, because after Endgame, kind of, you know, Infinity War and Endgame, all bets are off. I mean, everybody's been to space at this point, or at least been mixed up in cosmic Marvel. I don't expect them to come from space. I wouldn't think that that's the way, because we've speculated for years now on how exactly they would do this, even before we knew X-Men was going to go to MCU. How, since we've never been told that there are even mutants, are we going to bring the X-Men into the MCU? A lot of different things we've talked about. I won't go back through all that again, but I would be very surprised if the way they decided to go is, well, they're all aliens that came from another planet. That would not be the X-Men. So, but I'm with you. It could be more connected to that stuff, certainly. Lewis Cox, £5 super chat. Did you mean Captain Marvel 2 and not Captain America 2? We already have a Captain America 2? Yes, that is absolutely what I meant. I'm talking very fast today, trying to get through all this, and sometimes what comes out of my mouth is not what was in my brain. This happens constantly, Jason, when I'm trying to say Deadpool, but I accidentally say Daredevil, or vice versa.
Yeah.
I do that a lot.
It's not vice versa. It's vice versa. Visa is a credit card company.
Tom, that's a good point. $5 super chat. Disney might not have done a Spider-Man announcement because it might have to be announced by Sony. Can't wait for Marvel Mania, Quantum Mania. Yeah, that's a good point. That may be true. I didn't think of that. I don't have anything else to add, but that could be the reason, sure.
So,
what's up?
Sorry if I'm, like, being mean.
Oh,
but,
no. Who are you being mean to?
Just the chat.
Uh-oh.
Can you please ask more questions?
No, that's okay. Well, I have plenty of super chats to go through right now, but just scroll up, because, I mean, there's a whole bunch of comments there.
But, like, it only goes this far. And I'm not seeing it.
This far? No farther. Can you not pop the chat out? On this phone, I guess, on this app, I guess you can. Okay. Well, that's okay. If you want to ask any directed questions to us pre-written, though, now would be a good time. And if you have already asked something that we haven't gotten to, feel free to repeat it now. Please don't spam the chat, but feel free to put it in one more time. And Jason, like I said, just try to stay in frame for me if you can. Okay, and we'll answer some more stuff here. I'm basically just going to go through Super Chats and then take pre-written questions when Jason throws them at me and then call it a night. Okay. I'm not going to try to go a full 2 hours. If it takes that long, I'll take that long. But if we run out of Super Chats and we've answered a few pre-written before we get to 2 hours, I will end before that, certainly. 499 super chat from Anthony Cabrera. Thanks so much, folks, for the support. I really, really appreciate it. Aside from the Mandarin, when has the MCU done joke villains, especially for someone as big as Kang? Yeah, they haven't. I mean, the question is just if Kang is in that movie. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not fair to say he'd be a joke if he was in that, because, yeah, I mean, even the villain that they had in Ant-Man 2 wasn't exactly a jokey villain. I just don't know if it's gonna be, and I was kind of more saying what I was expecting my friends to say, more than, because I don't know what my feelings are on that. Like, I don't have a lot of experience with Kang, so I was more just saying, like, I kind of expect some people I know that love that character will be disappointed by that and will be worried that he won't be as menacing as he ought to be. Like, he may not be a joke, that maybe wasn't the way to put it, but in a really comedic, family-friendly PG-13 movie, he might not be as menacing as you would expect Kang to be. That is maybe a concern. But like I said, I want to be more excited about that because if Kang is there, that movie might not feel as superfluous. And I certainly wouldn't want that to be the only place that character is, because I think even though I haven't spent a lot of time with that character, he certainly has a lot of potential to do some cool stuff in that universe. Busted Sim, are we sick of all the streaming services yet? Says a guy who's avoided getting even one. Yeah, we've talked about this a lot lately, where it's gotten out of hand with how splintered it all is, and it's understandable why that's happened and why all these companies have wanted to cut out the middleman and have their own, but it is getting to the point where, I mean, we keep saying streaming war, it is becoming an all-out bloodbath at the moment. Somebody earlier, I saw a comment saying that Disney is really pushing Disney Plus now, like trying to, do whatever they can to try to force everybody and his dog to have it. And that is absolutely true. When you look at HBO Max going everything next year, and you can't say this has nothing to do with the streaming service, that it's just that they're trying to recoup the losses as much as they can for those movies. They're also pushing that streaming service. It has not been doing as well for them as they want it to be. That is known for sure. We don't know how poorly it's been performing because we don't have numbers, but it's really obvious that it's not done the way as well as they wanted it to, and so they're pushing that streaming service super hard with 21 new movies that you'll get to see for the first month when they come out. Disney Plus has announced a million things over just the next few years. This is not a 10-year slate, by the way, guys. This is just over the next few years, and a lot of it in the next couple of years. And so, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with this and how many streaming services end up kind of losing their way and falling off because people decide, I'm not going to have 12 of these anymore. And how many people feel the need to have Disney Plus and HBO Max and nothing else. I think HBO Max is suddenly, at least through 2021, going to do better than it has been and become one of the 3 or 4 big ones simply because you can see the movies that are going to movie theaters from that company there. And a lot of those are things people really want to see. I also would argue that some of those are things that people would not go to the movie theater for, but if they only have to pay for a streaming service, they will stay home and watch it, like Matrix 4. I think that movie does better on streaming than it would at the movie theater. I think that movie bombs at the theater. I think it does okay for a streaming service. Jason, I'm going to do another super chat, and then you can give me a pre-written if you want to, man.
Okay.
Is that cool?
There's a lot of pre-written now.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Appreciate the participation, Anthony Cabrera, and I'll do the best I can with as numb as my mouth is getting. Aside from the Mandarin, we just talked about that. Goofster 1, 2, and you're right. The Mandarin is the big joke villain. There are things about Ronan that were played kind of overly comedic, and stuff like that. Goofster 1, 2, 3. That's a name I don't recognize. Welcome, $5 super chat. Thoughts on other Disney announcements like Rescue Rangers? I hadn't heard about that. Raya following the Mulan model. I haven't heard about that. Turning red. Yeah, I don't know about those things. I've just been paying attention to the Marvel stuff today. So yeah, let's see what Turning Red is. I don't know about that. And like I said, it was really hard to keep up with everything. Turning Red. That is a Pixar movie for 2022. That's a coming of age comedy with a little girl with a super creepy looking animal something rather standing behind her. Okay.
What the heck is that?
That's what that is. Okay. Centers on Mei Lee, a confident yet dorky 13-year-old torn between staying her mother's dutiful daughter and the chaos of adolescence as it changes to her interests. You know what she looks like? She looks like if you gave a movie, if you spun off she doesn't have braces, but if you spun off the little girl with the braces from Finding Nemo and gave her own movie, that's what that looks like. Remember that? Where like she keeps like banging on the fish tank?
Yeah.
Looks like her. Maybe that's her all grown up. Maybe that's who that is. Probably not, though. Okay, so that's what that is. And she magically transforms into a giant red panda. Okay, so that is her. She turns into that, Jason. Okay.
What?
I don't immediately have thoughts about that. Pixar has turned me or gotten me excited about movies once I'm in the theater for things that I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So hopefully that's what happens with this. And then you mentioned a movie called Raya, which I also have not heard about at all. So let me look that up. Just gonna get my immediate first impressions. It's a reaction video. Raya and the Last Dragon. Somebody mentioned this a minute ago, and I forgot about it. I forgot that this is the thing that had The Last Dragon in the title. Okay, so this is a Disney Studios animated film, Raya and the Last Dragon. There's a teaser trailer, and that's... So when you say that's following the Mulan model, do you mean that's gonna go to Disney Plus, but you're gonna have to pay for it on top of it? Is that the idea? I don't know. I'm not seeing that mentioned here because this is just the website for that, but maybe that's what he's talking about. Okay. So we'll see what that's like. I don't immediately have thoughts about that. It looks like it could be cool. I don't know. Tom, another $5 super chat. Make a team of 6 Pokemon that represent 6 different superheroes. No, Tom, we just don't have time. I want to say last time. No, this is super chat. We'll do something with it. I know last time you were on, you had to pick like some of your favorite Pokemon. Mm-hmm. Can you name? We don't have time to go down a big list. Can you name a couple Pokemon that remind you of superheroes? That's what he's asking you to do.
Oh, okay.
I guess he's still on about this idea where he really wants us to like pair up Pokemon with superheroes. So I guess that's what we have to do now.
Okay.
I'm not a Pokemon guy. I don't know a lot of these, so it's gonna be Jason.
Yeah.
Oh, they're still okay. Mutali says both theaters and premiere access. I thought they'd learned their lesson and they weren't gonna do that anymore. That's unfortunate. So they've not figured this out. They've gone, okay, so it's either gonna be premiere access or it's gonna be in the theater. And sorry, real quick, that tells me they're not going to put any of their movies just straight up on Disney Plus, probably past Soul. Is my... Although, why are they doing it with Soul, then? I don't know. I have no idea. I can't predict this. That's very strange. I don't understand that. So they're just all over the place with this with their model. And that's going to confuse people. They're going to be like, pick something. Pick a lane. Anyway, go ahead.
So,
what do you have, sir?
Well, I don't know, like, anything about Watchmen, but, I would think maybe, like, Mimikyu would be good in Watchmen.
Oh, okay,
maybe.
Sure.
But
not with any particular character, because you don't know the characters in that?
Yeah, let me think.
Well, I would think that in Mystique, probably.
Ditto and Mystique.
Oh, okay.
Ditto,
all right.
Definitely.
Sure.
What? Is there like a character? Is there like a superhero that like can turn into a bunch of like it starts as one thing and then it can turn into a bunch of different things?
I mean, they're
like
shapeshifters,
not like shapeshifters.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
Let's go ahead and move on. If you think of some other stuff, that's cool. But we've got a bunch of things to get through here. Maniac Madness 11, $5 super chat, and then go back to pre-written after I do this, if you would. Do you think the next Black Panther movie will take place between the 5-year gap they've already kind of set up Namor Endgame anyway? That's a great point. I hadn't thought of that. I think you're onto something. I think there's a very good chance that they do that. And I wish they would, actually. I don't need a bunch of flashback movies, certainly. I wish Black Widow wasn't that. And I keep saying this, but I wish they'd gotten ahead of Black Widow years ago, at least 2015, 2016, done that before or after Civil War. But I would really like to see Marvel really kind of suss out the 5 years and deal with what society is like after that whole thing happened. I'm really afraid that we're not going to explore that enough about what happens to the culture and to society and to people at large during the blip. So doing a movie set in Wakanda and possibly also around the world, like another globetrotting movie, but with the Wakandans, because Black Panther got eliminated during that, right? Wasn't he one of the characters that got disintegrated in Infinity War?
Who?
Didn't we lose Black Panther there? and then he came back.
Yes.
So that is a great idea because of course they're not going to bring him back anyway. And then who knows what you do after that? But I didn't even think of that. That's an excellent idea. I hope they do that actually. That would be the easiest way. Blue Dragon 5 says Shuri didn't survive the snap, so that would end up being like probably a Koi led, and it would probably use M'Baku a lot. Like you'd have a movie that didn't have him or Shuri in it, but I still think that could potentially work. I actually like that idea. I would feel funky having that without Shuri, but a lot of people wouldn't. A lot of people don't like Shuri, so that could be okay. I like that idea actually. What do you think of that?
Yeah. I mean, no Shuri is kind of disappointing, but
Yeah, because I know you really like her, but
yeah.
okay, what do you see, man?
So let's see. Let's start with something that I don't see anymore, but I do remember the question. So
Do you remember who asked it?
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So Mutale asks, Cap, what are your thoughts on the Little Mermaid remake announcement?
Well, I thought we had an announcement about that a long time ago. Have they told us more about it now and like said for sure when it's happening and stuff? Because at one time wasn't that supposed to be Chloe Grace Moretz, and then I think that changed or something. Like, let's just look it up and find out, shall we? Okay, full cast of the live-action remake is here. I'm going to assume this is going to be a lot of people that I don't know from anything. Yeah, sorry, folks. I am just so not up on a lot of current actors and stuff outside of superhero and sci-fi stuff. So here is everybody if you're curious about who is acting in that movie. We got Melissa McCarthy. Most of the rest of these actors I don't immediately recognize from anything, and Halle Bailey as Ariel, and I don't know her either. So there we go. I don't have immediate thoughts about this. There's your cast for that. Well, I guess I do have immediate thoughts. I'm burnt real hard on the live action remakes for Disney, and I don't want any more of them, and I don't want to watch them. I may have a total let me know how it was attitude about these now and not see them in opening weekend, because I was very disappointed with Mulan, and it was my most anticipated movie for this year. I thought it had real potential, and I was stoked for it, and it was awful, and one of the worst things I've seen in a very long time. And after Lion King, which I wasn't going to watch, but I did for a live show, and after Aladdin, which some people liked, but I thought was abysmal, I'm kind of done with these. So if somebody says that rocks, I will watch it, but...
And, yeah, Jedi Knight, I forgot to talk about that. Sephiroth is in Smash now. They just released a trailer for that, and I have not seen that, but I saw that happened. Who's that character again?
I don't know what we're talking about.
I forgot. They announced a new DLC character.
Holy says you should know there's a new live action Lion King prequel in the works. I had heard about that. Mm-hmm. I'm not seeing that. I don't care. And
they're gonna make another 101 Dalmatians, I think.
They're doing, and this is stuff we've known for a long time too. They're doing a Cruella de Vil movie. Mm-hmm. They're not doing a reboot of the live action 101 Dalmatians, which was the first of these they did way back in the 90s, and it actually got a really bad sequel called 102 Dalmatians. Yeah. Let's keep going, shall we?
Yeah.
John Ty, $5 super chat. Do you think? Hold on, this is jumping around on me. Do you think, I'm looking, sorry, is it disappointing that the big two only make comics to give material for the TV shows and movies? I think that's hyperbolic, but I have been disappointed by the fact that the last several years especially, that has been a lot of what's been going on there. It's a lot of creating material to be adapted where the company is not as concerned with comics as a medium and with the stories themselves. It's much more about being kind of a proving ground for, sometimes a proving ground for what we can adapt later. We're seeing that with a lot of things that are just now getting adapted, or at least it certainly feels that way with some stuff, kind of like the Riri Williams thing. But I don't know if that's the case, or if that was just a thing Bendis really wanted to do, and then they decided, there's another character that we can mine for the movies. But it has felt like this for a really long time to me, and sometimes it's also like kind of the comics trying to use the movies to sell themselves when they're worried nobody's going to buy them. So we end up doing big plot points in the comics that are things that are going to happen later on. We saw that with some things with Age of Ultron and stuff back when that came out. So yeah, that is disappointing. I don't think that is entirely what's going on. I think there's a lot of books that fall under that radar. We're not worried about the movies with Venom, for instance, which has been a wonderful book from what I've read of it. I've not gone back to that in a few months, but it's great. And I don't know that they were thinking movies when they did a lot of stuff with Jason Aaron's Thor, but now some of that is affecting the movies. So I'm not going to say every time we take something from the last 10 years in comics and go to movies with it that see, that was them using the comics as a place to try out things. And it's also not a bad idea to try out things, but the issue is when the company doesn't really care about the stories so much as trying to create synergy between the big screen and the comics. That's where it really becomes a problem. I don't think that's all we're doing, though.
So apparently he's the villain in Final Fantasy. I had heard that name before, but yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay. I never played any Final Fantasy, but
I've played the first one.
I knew that was a video game character, but I couldn't have told you what from. Lewis Cox, £2 super chat. He already mentioned, I already read that one. Sorry about that. Star is going to be international Hulu. And then Connor had the one about Why the Last Man. Tom, $5 super chat. It's probably not Tim Allen because it's not the toy, it's the show. We kind of covered this already, but thanks a lot, Tom. I think you're absolutely right. I think that's what's going on there. Joseph Plaza, £1.99 super chat. Do you think the HBO backlash will affect Disney Plus? I think I don't think so. I wouldn't think it would affect the streaming service because there's too much stuff that people are going to want to see there. I think it's hard to say. I really think that. Let me get my thoughts together on this. I don't know. I really think that the fact that so much is going to be available on HBO Max has to affect every other company that decides to continue to put their movies only in theaters and not stream them. Regardless of backlash, I think that choice is going to affect the industry more than anything else is. There are going to be a lot of people, despite the fact that some industry people and fans both, you have Christopher Nolan, but you also have movie fans that are upset about this. You are going to have some people that will continue to go and support theaters and will boycott HBO Max and not see their slate. You're going to have a lot more people that stay home, I think. And so I think that's going to affect it more than anything.
Hey, Dad, people are saying that the volume is low.
That the volume is low?
Yeah.
Just now they're suddenly saying that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's... Okay.
But it's just...
That's
yeah,
weird because it's been the same volume this entire show.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little farther away from my microphone than I usually am. We're using one microphone for the two of us, so... anyway. I usually don't have two people on camera, so yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, pardon me. Sorry about that if that has been an issue. Do you see anything else in pre-written before we go back to the Super Chats?
Will people, Jedi Knight asks, will people be able to afford HBO Max?
I mean, it is a good question as to how much the price point has to do with why that service hasn't been performing the way they want it to. It is a steeper price point than a lot of other things. Disney Plus is one of the cheapest things out there, and they're going to have the most original content with highest production values of anything else there is, period. No way around that. HBO Max is clearly the highest thing there is. that price point is going to be more justified this next year anyway. Who knows what they do after that? By the fact that you can watch every one of the Warner movies that are going to theaters also there. And I think a lot of people that would usually go to the theater and pay $10 or $15 to sit in a theater to watch one movie will gladly pay that monthly to watch everything they put out. So, yeah, there are probably some people that don't buy that because they're on a fixed income and they're only going to pay for one or two streaming services, and those people are all getting Disney Plus, I bet, or at least the majority of them. And some of them still have Netflix, and some of them have finally dropped their Netflix in favor of Disney Plus and or Amazon, and, you know, maybe one or two others. David22, Cap, you're doing a lot of streaming right now. I sure am. Will you do a holiday show? I'm not going to do a show on Christmas. I'll be out of town. But we will probably do some kind of Christmas-themed Captain Logan show, I imagine. We usually do something. Bob the Hun, somebody asked me this last night, $2 Super Chat, will you stream Knights of the Old Republic? I'm certainly considering it after the requests I got about it last night, and I would really like to play that game. So if I do play that game, I might as well play it on camera, unless I get really self-conscious and I can't get anywhere in an hour, and I don't want people watching me while I am fumbling around trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. I'm a little bit worried about that with action RPGs. I've heard that game is straightforward enough. I shouldn't have that problem too much. I recently got a request for Mass Effect 2, which I'm going to stream at least a couple of hours of and see if I'm making enough headway to continue to stream it. I've wanted to play that game forever, and I have been told that that second game is a little bit easier to pick up and play and get into than the first is, that it starts a little slower. The first one does. So I'm going to start with Mass Effect 2. I know that those three games together are a trilogy of stories, and it might be weird to not have the first story going into 2. But that's what was requested, so that's what I'm going to do, and that'll probably start in a few weeks. Let's see. I got just a couple more super chats here. Hayden Spring, $1.99 super chat. Hey Cap, hi. What are your thoughts on The Boys? I've still not watched it, and people have been begging me for quite a while to do that. I have talked about this before. I have had little interest in that because I'm kind of sick of cynical superhero stuff, just for my own taste. Not that I don't think that that's necessarily a valid thing to do with the medium or with the genre. It's just I have been kind of burnt out on, darker deconstruction of superhero stuff as of late. However, Dan Torrey keeps telling me how great it is, and he's told me about some things that make it difficult for me to not look at it eventually. So at this point, I'm sure at some point I'll end up watching that. I was also a little bit frustrated with Amazon because they canceled what was my favorite superhero show on streaming, on anything, which was The Tick, in favor of The Boys, because now that's their big superhero thing. They had The Tick before, and that's not fair or anything. That's just a personal thing for me, but it was hard to get excited about that because I'm losing The Tick for this thing, and based on source material I didn't care about and that I always heard terrible things about, and I've heard mixed things. There are some people that I really trust that say that it's just raunchy and dark for the sake of itself, and other people that have said no, the satire is really sophisticated. And so at some point I will watch it. I'm not going to promise when or what kind of a review I'll do on it. Lewis Cox, £2 super chat. Cap, what are you going to be doing with Morphin Mania? I'm not sure right now. DJ and I just lately have not been able to prioritize it. It was doing a lot better view count wise on the main channel than when we gave it its own channel, and it's just been really hard to, like I said, to make that a priority. I do want to get back to it and continue with it. DJ has been in charge of that. I don't mean to throw him under the bus, but he's still got a couple episodes that he can post that I don't think he's gotten to. We've both been really busy, and there's just not been a huge interest in that show as much as we love making it. So I don't know exactly yet what's going on with that, but we have lots and lots of projects in happening right now and in the works. And David22, $2 super chat, will we get a Geekvolution prequel for the fans? Sure. And the part of Captain Logan will be the part of 10-year-old Captain Logan will be played by Jason.
What? Yeah, sure, okay.
You want to do a me impression from when I was 10 years old?
Don't know how to do that, but okay.
Good luck,
play
sir.
some SNES and then
it's so weird.
tell all my friends that I like Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and then I'll be good.
That's awesome. It's so weird because when I was a kid, obviously it wasn't as easy to just get on camera and make a video of yourself, and you're going to grow up and have hours and hours of video of yourself that you can go back to and look at.
Yeah.
I don't have that. I can't show you what I was like at 10 years old.
Yeah.
Very few pictures, very little video. It was the Dark Ages, son.
The Golden Age.
In 1994. John Ty, $5 super chat. What is the difference between a deconstruction of a character and a character study in storytelling? So when you deconstruct a character, you're taking a thing that people are pretty familiar with already, and you're kind of tearing it down to its brass tacks, and you're studying the construction of it, which sounds obvious. Deconstruction, you're studying what that character is as a fictitious entity or as an archetype or something, and a character study is a more kind of like realistic, believable depiction where it's about learning the ins and outs of who this person is as they go through a character arc. And of course, a deconstruction can also have a deep character arc and can also be very layered and three-dimensional. You can kind of do both at the same time, certainly, but a deconstruction is basically taking something apart and putting it back together, just like it sounds. Sometimes turning it on its head so that we can understand what it's really about thematically. And a character study is less about thematics and more about creating a real, well-rounded, believable person and learning all about who they are and making them as real as possible.
Mystical Green Beanie just answered your question for you.
That's a great way to put it. He says, he gave examples. Deconstruction is Batman White Knight. Character study is Tom King's Batman. I would agree with that for the most part. I think there's some deconstruction in Tom King as well. But I would also say Snyder much more so. Snyder is also deconstructing Batman real hard. Philip, Cap, this has nothing to do with anything, but it just hit me. Batman Returns is a Christmas Carol movie. I guess it kind of is, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I can kind of see why you're saying that.
I forgot, was it actually set in Christmas?
Yep. It is set at Christmas. Guys, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks a bunch for watching. Hope you had a good time with this special, extra Captain Logan show.
And the Captain... No, not Captain. I was like Counselor Jason back in the day.
Back in the day? You're 10 years old and you're saying back in the day. Yeah, we had an old Star Trek club and Jason was Counselor Jason back then.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. But you guys are great. Thanks so much for popping in and helping me get through all of the Marvel news that is fit to print. And we will be back again next Tuesday night for another Marvel Mania. We're going to do Captain, I'm just saying Captain everything. Captain Ant-Man. Ant-Man and the Wasp is Tuesday for Marvel Mania. Thursday, a regular Captain Logan show, followed by Captain Logan After Dark. We're getting really close to Christmas, folks, and of course I'll be taking off about a week around Christmas, and then I'll basically probably be taking off 2 weeks, but I'll be on some streams at least when I go to DJ's place. I'll be making some videos there. So you'll see us again not too shortly after Christmas break. But next week will be a normal week, and then after that, it will start to slow down a little bit. I will probably still be jumping in and out doing some video game streams. I've been having a lot of fun with that, and whenever I've got a little bit of extra time where I can quit working on whatever I'm working on, it's fun to sit down and do that. So I may be doing like an hour stream tonight. I have a bunch of work to do, but I might take a break and do that. So I don't want to promise that, but if that happens, it'll be a little bit later. It'll be probably around 11, somewhere between 11 and midnight. So if you happen to be up late and you want to hang out with me, I'll be playing probably some more of the AVGN game. Is likely what I'll play, or it could be something else, but that's what I'm thinking right now.
When are we going to do more Undertale?
More Undertale? Just whenever you and I have some time. I've got a lot going on this weekend, so probably not this weekend, but maybe sometime during the week. On Sunday night, we're supposed to be doing a new Batmosphere, and I will announce that officially on Saturday. If that is definitely that should be happening. That's the plan right now. So Dan and I are going to try to get together and finally do a Batmosphere. It's been a couple months. in the meantime. We'll see you later, folks. I was Captain Logan.
And I was Jason.
Jason, did you have a good time, man?
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for doing it, man. I appreciate it. All right, later, guys.